The year of 2015 is proclaimed to be the year of literature, the year of foreign literature as well. And in other words, it is the year of books. Books of different kinds: historical novels and adventure stories, lyrical poems and heroic ballads, fairy tales and plays. Oscar Wilde, a famous British writer, is remarked by his stylistic diversity. His creative activity is marked with different kinds of literary works. Among his works we can find lyrical poems, a thrilling novel, witty plays, and of course tales. The tales which are full of sadness and humor at the same time. So we are happy to see you at our assembly hall and to have a lot of participants at our contest. So the honorable jury will judge your language skills and acting. So the chairman of our jury is Nikonova Елена Эдуардовна. The members are Луговская Татьяна Юрьевна, Корнева Елена Викторовна, Румянцева Юлия Сергеевна, and Кузнецова Людмила Николаевна. So the camera woman is Потапова Татьяна Геннадьевна. So we are ready to start.
So the first to take the floor is a group of students from the Alliance Form who will represent the tale The Selfish Giant.
Every day, as the children were coming from school, they used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass.
How happy we are here!
One day, the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend and had stayed with him for 7 years. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden.
What are you doing here? Why one garden is mine? I really don't know much to play but myself.
He was a very selfish giant. The poor children had now nowhere to play.
How happy we are here!
Then the spring came. Only in the garden of the selfish giant it was still winter. The snow and the frost cried.
Spring has forgotten this garden, so we will live here all the year round.
I cannot understand why the spring is so difficult. I hope the weather change in the weather.
But the spring never came, nor the summer. Even the autumn said.
He is too selfish.
One morning the giant heard some lovely music. It was really only a little linnet singing spring song. He looked out the window. He saw a most wonderful sight. Through a little hole in the wall, the children had crept into the garden. Only in one corner it was still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was sitting a little boy. The giant came up to the little boy, and the little boy smiled on the giant. And the giant's heart melted.
How selfish I have been. Now I know what the spring is already coming. I feel down the wall and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever.
That's your garden now, little children.
The children came and played with the giant, but the little boy whom the giant loved was never seen again. Some time later, one winter morning, the giant looked out of the window and saw the little boy he had loved. The child smiled on the giant and said to him,
"You let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise."
And when the children went in the garden, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with red blossoms.
From the tale of the Nightingale and the Rose.
She said, if I'll bring her a red rose, she will dance with me. But there are no red roses in my garden. There is a dance in the castle tonight. My love will be there. If I bring her a red rose, she will dance with me all night long. If I bring her a red rose, I will hold her in my arms, and she will put her head on my shoulder, and my arm will be in her. But there are no red roses in my garden, so she will not notice me, and my heart will break.
He really is a true lover. What is a joy to me is a pain to him. Love is a wonderful thing. Golden pearls can never bite.
The nightingale understood why the student was so sad. She opened her wings and flew up into the air. She passed through the trees and across the garden like a shadow. So, the nightingale flew over to the rose tree that was growing under the student's window.
If you want a red rose, you must build it out of music by moonlight and color it with the blood of your heart. You must sing to me with your heart pressed against the thorn. You must sing to me all night long, and the thorn must cut into your heart, and your blood must flow into me.
That's the great price to pay for a red rose. Yet love is very precious. It's nice to sit in the tree, watch the golden sun and the moon, and smell sweet flowers. Yet love is better than life. And what is the heart of a bird compared to the heart of a man?
When the moon shone in the sky, the nightingale flew to the rose tree and pressed her heart against the thorn. All night long she sang, with the heart against the thorn, and the cold crystal moon listened. All night long she sang, and the thorn went deeper and deeper into her heart.
Rest closer, little nightingale. Our day be gone before the rose is finished.
So the nightingale pressed closer against the thorn, and the thorn touched her heart, and terrible pain shot through her. The pain got worse, and her song wilder. She sang of the love that is made perfect by death. And the wonderful rose became dark red, but the nightingale's voice was weaker, and her little wings stopped. She sang the last song. The white moon heard it, forgot about the morning and stayed in the sky. The red rose heard it, and opened its petals to the cold morning air. The echo of the wonderful song woke the sleeping people from their dreams. It was carried by the river to the sea.
Look, look, the rose is finished now.
But the nightingale made no answer, because she was lying dead in the long grass with the thorn in her heart. At noon, the student opened his window and looked out.
Oh, how lucky I am! Here is a red rose. I have never seen any rose like this in my life. It's so beautiful that I'm sure it has a long lady name.
The daughter of the professor was sitting in the doorway, and her little dog was lying at her feet.
You said you would dance with me if I brought you a red rose. This is the reddest rose in all the world. You can wear it next to your heart if we dance together, so it will show you how I love you.
I'm afraid it will not go with my dress. And anyway, the Chamberlain's nephew has sent me some real Jews. And everybody knows the Jews are more expensive than flowers.
You are very ungrateful.
Ungrateful? I tell you what, you are very rude. But you're only a student. Look at Chamberlain's nephew. Look that he has got.
Love is a very silly thing. Love is not as useful as logic, because it doesn't prove anything. It says things that are never going to happen, and it makes people believe things that are not true. In fact, it's very unpractical. I will go back to my studies and learn about practical things.
So he returned to his room and pulled out a great old book and started to read.
poem In the Forest is recited by Lukyanova Ekaterina, the student of 9B class.
Oscar Wilde, In the Forest. Out of the midwest twilight, into the meadows down, ivory-lined and brown-eyed flashes my thorn. He skips through the copses singing, and his shadow dances alone, and I know not which I shall follow, shadow or song. O hunter, snare me his shadow, O nightingale, catch me his strain, as moonstruck with music and madness, I track him in vain. Из сумрака чащи далекой, на лоно душистых трав, светлокожий и кариокий, спешит мой фавн. Легкой тенью причудлив танец, звука голоса, волшебство. И не знаю я, тень ли манит, или песня его. О, охотник, да будет ли песней, соловей, ты мотив поймай, а не то ведь, идя вслед за пением, сойду я с ума. Перевод Геннадия Покрываева.
The next poem, Symphony in Yellow, is recited by Minyasheva Alina, the student of 10th B class.
A Symphony in Yellow, Oskar Uайльда. The omnibus across the bridge goes like a yellow butterfly, and here and there the passers-by look like a little restless midge. Big barges full of yellow hay are moved against the shadowed wall, and like a yellow sinking scarf they seek for clouds along the cane. The yellow leaves begin to fade and flutter from the temple elms, and at my feet the pale green Thames lies like a rod of rippled jade.
The next pupils to take the floor are Nikishova Veronika and Bajenova Daria with the extracts from The Canterville Ghost.
You're poor, poor ghost. I'm so sorry for you. My brothers are going back to school tomorrow, and so, if you behave yourself, no one will bother you.
It's absurd asking me to behave myself. Quite absurd. I must rattle my chains, replenish my bloodstains, and walk about tonight. It's my only reason for existing.
It's not at all reason to exist. You know, you've been very weak. James told us you killed your wife.
Well, I admit, I did it, but it was simply a family matter and concerned no one else.
Doesn't matter. It's still wrong to kill anybody.
Well, I wouldn't have done it if she wasn't such a bad cook. However, even though it's all over, I still don't think it was very kind of her brothers to starve me to death.
Oh, Ghost, Sir Simon, are you hungry? I can go down to the kitchen and fix you something to eat.
No, thank you. I never eat anything now. But that's very kind of you all the same. You are much nicer than the rest of your rude, horrid and dishonest family.
Stop. It's you who are rude and horrid. And as for dishonesty, I really don't think it was a good idea to steal all my paints to make it ridiculous blood stain in the library. Really, who's ever heard of the emerald green blood?
What was I supposed to do? It's way too expensive to get real blood these days, especially with your brother removing it every day.
I think the best variant for you will be to emigrate to America and to improve your mind. And I know a lot of families will be very happy to have their family ghost.
I don't think I would like America very much.
I suppose because we have no ruins and no antiques?
No ruins, no antiques. What a dull place to live in.
Well, then I will go, and I will ask my father to give my brothers 1 extra weeks of holidays.
Please, don't go, Miss Virginia. Don't go. I'm so lonely and tired. I want to sleep, and I can't.
It's quite absurd. You simply need to go to bed and to blow out their candle. It's so easy. Even babies know that, and they're not very clever.
I haven't slept for over 300 years, and I'm so tired.
Did you inscribe the verse etched in the libraries?
Yes, I did.
When the golden girl can weep,
when a barren almond bears.
I know.
And the little child gives away in tears. Then shall all the house be still, and peace come to Canterbury. What does it mean?
It means that you have to weep for my sins because I have no tears, and pray for my soul because I have no faith. And then the angel of death will have mercy on me, and I can finally die. Yes, death must be so beautiful, to lie in the soft brown earth with the grass waving above one's head, and listen to silence, to have no yesterday, no tomorrow, to forgive time, to forget life, to be at peace. You can help me.
I'm not afraid. I will go and ask the angel of death to have mercy on you.
You will hear fearful shapes in the darkness, and wicked voices will whisper in your ear, but they will not harm you.
Go back, little Virginia. Go back.
Beware, little Virginia. Beware. We may never see you again.
Hurry up, please.
Turn back while you can.
Leave now.
Quick.
I have been with the ghost, but you must come and see him. He is dead. He was very wicked, but he was really sorry for all that he had done. God has forgiven him.
An extract from the tale of the devoted friend is represented by Ippolito Mikhail and Samoilovsky Sergei, the students of 9B class.
Good morning, little hands, and how have you been all the winter? We were talking about you and wondered how you're getting home. How lovely your flowers are looking.
Certainly, they are very lovely. It is the most lucky thing for me that I have so many. I will take them to the market and sell them for the money, because I don't have money to buy bread with.
I will give you my wheelbarrow. It's not in good repair, but in spite of that, I will give it to you. I know that it is very generous of me, and many people will think me extremely foolish for parting with it, but I am not like the rest of the world. I think that generosity is the essence of friendship, and besides, I have got a new wheelbarrow for myself.
Well, really, that is very generous of you. I can easily repay it with a plank of wood in the house.
A plank of wood? That is just what I want for the roof of my barn. How lucky you mentioned it. It's quite remarkable how one good action leads to another. Of course, the wheelbarrow is worth far more than the plank, but true friendship never notices little things like that.
Certainly.
And now, as I have given you my wheelbarrow, I am sure you would like to give me your flowers in return. Here is a basket, and mind you, fill it quite full.
Quite full?
Well, really, as I have given you my wheelbarrow, I don't think it's much to ask you for a few flowers. I may be wrong, but I think that true friendship is quite free from the selfishness of any kind.
My dear friend, my best friend, you are welcome to all flowers in my garden.
A poem Sphinx is recited by Marchenko Filya, the student of 10B class.
The Sphinx. In a dim corner of my room, for longer than my fancy thinks, a beautiful and silent Sphinx has watched me through the shifting moon. Inviolate and immobile, she doesn't rise, she doesn't stir. For silver moons are not to her, and not to her the suns that ring. Red follows grey across the air, the waves of moonlight ebb and flow, but with the dawn she doesn't go, and in the nighttime she is there. Dawn follows dawn, and nights grow old, and all the while this curious cat lies crouching on the Chinese mat, with eyes of satin ringed with gold. Come forth, my lovely seneschal, so somnolent, so statuesque. Come forth, you exquisite grotesque, half woman and half animal. Come forth, my lovely languorous sphinx, and put your head upon my knee, and let me stroke your throat and see your body spotted like the lynx. And let me touch those carving claws of yellow ivory, and grasp the tail that like a monstrous asp coils round your heavy velvet hose.
A fragment from the Canterville Ghost is recited by Nagulova Anastasia, the student of 7th class.
One day, Virginia was walking along the corridor when she saw a person in one of the rooms and went in. To her surprise, it was the Canterville Ghost himself, and he looked really sad. "I'm so sorry for you," she said, "but my brothers are going back to Eton tomorrow, and then, if you behave yourself, no one will annoy you." "It is absurd asking me to behave myself," the ghost answered. "I must rattle my chains and groan through keyholes and walk about at night. It is my only reason for existing." "It is no reason at all for existing, and you know you have been very nasty. Mrs. Umney told me as that you had killed your wife." "Well, I quite admit it. But my wife was not very nice, and you know she knew nothing about cookery. However, it is all over now, and I don't think it was very nice of your brothers to starve me to death." "Starve you to death? Oh, Mr. Ghost, I mean, Sir Simon, I'm hungry. I have sandwich in my case. Would you like it?" "No, thank you. I never eat anything now. But it's very kind of you. You are much nicer than the rest of your rude, dishonest family." "Stop!" cried Virginia, stamping her foot. "It is you who are rude, and as for dishonesty, you stole the paints out of my box. To renew that ridiculous blood stain in the library, first you took all my reds, and I couldn't do any more sunsets. Then you took the green and the yellow. Finally, I had nothing left but blue and white, and I could only do the moonlight scenes, which are not easy to paint." Having said this, Virginia turned around to leave the room. "Please, don't go, Miss Virginia," the ghost cried. "I'm so unhappy and I really don't know what to do. I want to go to sleep and I can't. I haven't slept for 300 years, and I'm so tired." Poor ghost," she murmured. "Have you no place where you can sleep?" "Well, I have a place where I can sleep. It's the Garden of Death, the churchyard. But only if you weep for me and my sins, and pray with me for my soul. The angel of death will have mercy on me." When Virginia promised to help the ghost and pray for him, he rose from his seat, took her hand, and kissed it thankfully. Then he led her across the room. Virginia saw the wall slowly fading away like a mist, and a beating cold wind was around them. "Quick, quick," cried the ghost, "or it will be then." Then the wall was closed, and the chamber was empty. Thank you for your attention.
Let's meet our next participants. The first fragment from the tale of the remarkable rocket is performed by a group of students from the 10th A class. The original story was very long and included archaisms which will be difficult to understand today. Thus, with all due respect to Oskar Uайльда, his tale, The Remarkable Rocket, is now shorter and we hope easier for our acting. The king's son was going to be married. His bride had arrived at last. She was a Russian princess and had driven all the way from Finland in a sleigh drawn by reindeer. When the 3 days were over, the marriage was celebrated. It was a magnificent ceremony, and the bride and bridegroom walked hand in hand under a canopy of purple velvet embroidered with little pearls. Then there was a state banquet. After the banquet, there was a ball. The bride and bridegroom danced the rose dance together, and the king played the flute. The last item on the program was a grand display of fireworks to be set off exactly at midnight. The princess had never seen a firework in her life. So, at the end of the king's garden, a great stand had been set up, and when everything was in its proper place, the fireworks began to talk to each other.
The world is certainly very beautiful. Just look at those yellow tulips. Why, if they were real craters, they could not belong.
The king's garden is not the world, you foolish thing. The world is an enormous place, and it would take you 3 days to see it thoroughly.
Any place you love is the world.
Nonsense.
Ahem. How fortunate it is for the king's son that he is to be married on the very day on which I am to be set off.
Dear me, I thought it was quite the other way, and that you were to be set off in the prince's corner.
It may be so with you, but with me it is different. I am a very remarkable rocket and come of remarkable parents. My mother was the most celebrated Catherine of her day. My father was a rocket like myself and of French extraction. He made the most brilliant descent in a shower of golden rain. It was a triumph of pyrotechnic art.
Pyrotechnic you mean? I know it's pyrotechnic, for I saw it written on my own canister.
Well, I say pyrotechnic. I was saying, what was I saying?
You were talking about yourself.
Pray, what are you laughing at? I'm not laughing.
We are laughing because we are happy.
That is a very selfish reason. You should be thinking about others. In fact, you should be thinking about me. That is what is called sympathy. Really, when I begin to reflect on the importance of my position, I am almost moved to tears.
If you want to give pleasure to others, you had better keep yourself dry.
Certainly, that is the only common sense.
Common sense indeed. You forget that I am very uncommon and very remarkable. As for keeping myself dry, there is evidently no one here who can at all appreciate an emotional nature. Here you are, laughing and making merry, just as if the prince and princess had not just been married.
Well, really? Why not? It is the most joyful occasion. You had really better keep yourself dry. That is the important thing.
Very important for you. I have no doubt, but I shall weep if I choose.
She must have a truly sensitive nature, for she weeps when there is nothing at all to weep about.
Humbug, humbug!
So, at the last stroke of midnight, everyone came out on the terrace. The king ordered to begin the fireworks. It was certainly a magnificent display. Whiz went the Catherine wheel, and she spun round and round. Boom, boom, boom ran the Roman candle. The little squeaks danced all over the place, and the banged lights made everything look scarlet. Everyone was a great success, except the remarkable rocket. She was so dark with crying that she couldn't go off the wall. The best thing in her was the gunpowder, and it was so wet with tears that it was of no use. All her poor rocket relations, to whom she would never speak, shot up into the sky like wonderful golden flowers with blossoms of fire. Hooray! Hooray! cried the court, and the princess laughed with pleasure.
I suppose they are reserving you for some grand occasion. No doubt that is what it means.
The second fragment from the tale of the remarkable rocket is performed by a group of students from the 10th D class. So, the next day, the opening came to put everything tighter. The rocket put her nose into the air and began to frown severely, as if she was thinking about some very important subject. But they took no notice of her at all, till they were just going away. Then, one of them took sight of her, and he threw her over the wall, into the ditch.
Oh, it's not comfortable here. fashionable watering place, and they have sent me away from my house. My nerves are certainly very much shattered, and I require a rest.
A new arrival, I see. Well, after all, there is nothing like mud. Give me a rainy weather and a ditch, and I'm quite happy. Do you think it will be a wet afternoon? I'm sure, I hope so. But the sky is quite blue and cloudless. What a pity. What a delightful voice you have. Really, it's like a croak. And croaking is, of course, the most musical sound in the world. You will hear our glee club this evening. We sit in the old dark pond close by the farmer's house. And as soon as the moon rises, we begin. Delightful voice, certainly. I hope you will come over this evening. I'm off to look for my daughters. I have 6 beautiful daughters, and I'm so afraid that the bike may meet them. Well, goodbye. I enjoyed our conversation very much, I assure you.
Conversation indeed. You have talked the whole time yourself. That is not a conversation.
Somebody must listen, and I like to do all the talking myself. It saves time and prevents arguments.
But I like arguments.
I hope not. Arguments are extremely rude. Everybody in good society thinks the same. Well, goodbye a second time. I see my daughters in the distance.
You are a very irritating person, and very ingrate.
There is no good talking to the frog. No good at all. She has already gone away.
Well, that is your loss, not mine. I like hearing myself talk. It is one of my greatest pleasures. I often have long conversations all by myself, and I'm so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I'm saying.
Then you should certainly lecture on philosophy.
How very silly of her not to stay here. Genius like mine is sure to be appreciated someday.
Quack, quack, quack. What a curious shape you are. May I ask, why you born like that? Or is it the result of an accident?
It's quite evident that you have always lived in the country. You will be surprised to hear that I can fly up into the sky and come down in a shower of golden rain.
I don't think much of that, as I cannot see what use it is to anyone.
My good creature, I see that you belong to the lower orders. A person of my position is never useful.
Well, everybody has different tastes. I hope that you are going to take up your residence here.
Oh dear, no, I'm merely a visitor. I shall probably go back to court to make a sensation in the world.
I have thoughts of entering public life myself, but instead I chose to look after my family.
I am made for public life. As for family life, it ages one rapidly and distracts one's mind from higher things.
Ah, the higher things of life. How fine they are. And that reminds me how hungry I feel. Quack, quack, quack.
Come back! Come back! I have a great deal to say to you. I'm glad she has gone.
She sank a little deeper into the mud and began to think about the loneliness of genius, when suddenly 2 little boys came running down the bank with a kettle and some wood. One of the boys picked the rocket out of the ditch, piled the bits of wood together, put the rocket on top, and lit the fire as he wanted to boil the kettle. The rocket was very damp, so she took a long time to burn. At last, however, the fire caught her. Fizz, 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 and she went straight up into the air. But nobody saw her and nobody heard her, not even the 2 little boys, for they were sound asleep. Then all that was left of her was the stick, and this fell down on the back of a goose who was taking a walk by the side of the ditch. For in the end, that is what happens to all followers, even the ones who believe they are more important than others. So now we'll see some fragments from the play, The Importance of Being Earnest, which are performed by the students of the Dance A class. Let's meet the first fragment, which is presented by Skok Alexandra and Knyazeva Любовь.
How can you sit there coming to me market when we in this horrible trouble? I can't be held. seem to me to be perfectly heartless. I can hardly eat muffins in an agitated way. The butter will probably get on my cuffs. One should always eat muffins quite calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I said it's perfectly heartless. You eat muffins at all under circumstances.
When I am in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. Indeed, when I'm in really great trouble, I refuse everything except food and drink. At the moment, I'm eating muffins because I am in trouble. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that's no reason why should you eat them all in that greedy way.
I thought you just said it was practically heartless to eat muffins.
I said it's perfectly heartless of you under circumstances. That's a very different thing.
Yes, but the muffins are the same.
Elsie, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't make me leave without having some dinner. I never leave without my dinner. No one ever does, except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I've made arrangements to be christened at 6:15 under the name of Ernest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I made arrangements this morning to be christened myself at 5:30, and I naturally will take the name of Ernest. We can't both be christened Ernest. It's absurd. There is no evidence at all that I have ever been christened by anybody. It's entirely different in your case. You have been christened.
Yes, but I haven't been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That's the important thing.
Quite so. So I know my constitution can stand it. I must say I find it quite dangerous of you venturing on it now. It might make you very unwell.
Oh, that's nonsense. You're always talking nonsense.
Jack, you are the muffins again. I wish you wouldn't. There's only one left.
Elgin, I already told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet, and there's still one muffin left. Are there many interesting walks in the village, Miss Cardew? Five counters? I don't think I should like them. I hate crowds. What a look at garden this is, Miss Cardew. I had no idea there are any flowers in the country. Personally, I can't understand how anybody managed to exist in the country. The country always bores me to death.
Oh, that is the newspaper's policy agricultural depression, is it not? The aristocracy are certainly much more just present. It is almost limited in understand. I have been told.
Oh, thank you, detestable girl. But I require tea salt.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is really not the best houses nowadays. You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and for asked you most clear for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my nature, but I worry, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy? There are no lands to which I wouldn't go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful. I'm never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I'm trespassing out between many articles of a similar character making the neighborhood.
Oh yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills, quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should have that. I have crowds.
I suppose that is why I live in town. Sit down.
Thank you. Quite well kept garden, Miss Peggy.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Oh, flowers are rare common here, as people are in London.
Personally, I can't understand how anybody managed to exist if anybody who is anybody dies. This country always bores me to death.
Oh, this is what the newspapers call agricultural depression, is it not? I have been told it is almost an epidemic among them. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cakes are rarely seen in the best houses nowadays.
Taste yourself.
Thank you. You filled my tea with lots of sugar, and I asked for bread and butter, and you have given me a cake. I am known for my sweetness of my nature, but you, Miss Cadger, may go too far.
To save my poor innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are nowhere to which I would go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrust you. You were false with me. My first impression of people absolutely right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I'm just wasting all your valuable time. No doubt you have many other faults to make in the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Beckle. I prefer to speak.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not now the bodies of eligible young men. However, I would persuade you to enter the name. Should your answers be what your relationship with mother requires? Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit my smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Mrs. Beckle.
I'm pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tempers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exhausted fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
Investment chiefly. I have a country house with some land, of course, detached.
We have a country house at home. A girl with a simple, unspoiled facial and handling who hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Yes, of course, I have a house for a stay.
What number is there in square?
On 149.
That fashionable size. I thought there was something. However, it would easily be altered.
What do you mean? The fashion of the side?
Both, if necessary, I presume. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one of your parents, Mr. Gordon, could be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father?
Well, I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is that, Mrs. Beckle, I lost my parents. The fact is, I said that I have lost my both parents, but it would be nearly the truth to say that the parents seem to have lost me. Well, I don't actually know when by birth I was found.
Found?
Yes, a lady, Mr. Thomas, an old gentleman with professional gentlemanly and kindness position, found me and gave me the name of Walker.
Where did the charitable man find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag.
Yes, I was in a handbag, with a large baby bag, like, an ordinary handbag.
In what locality did Mr. James or Thomas come across an ordinary handbag?
In a locker room at the Victoria station. It was given him in mistake of his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, Brighton.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Watson, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce, at any rate, one parent of either sex.
Why?
Before the season is quite
Well, I don't see how we manage to do that. I can produce new red and back at any moment. It is in my dressing room and my home. I really think you should be satisfied by this, Mr. Blackwell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You could hardly imagine that I and Lord Cockfield would dream of allowing our only daughter, brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a caution and to make an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Wells.
Good morning.
Owned by a group of students from the 10th B class.
Love is all very well in its way, but friendship is much higher.
Once upon a time, there was an honest little fellow named Henry. Every day he worked in his garden. In all the countryside there was no garden as lovely as his. He had a kind heart. Hans had a great many friends, but the most devoted friend of all was big Hugh the Miller. Indeed, so devoted was the rich miller to little Hans that he would never go by his garden without plucking a large nosegay or filling his pockets with plums and cherries, if it was the fruit season.
Real friends should have everything in common.
Sometimes indeed many persons never troubled his head about these things, and nothing gave him greater pleasure than to listen to all the wonderful things the leaders used to say about the unselfishness of true friendship. During the spring, the summer, and the autumn, Hans was very happy. But when the winter came, he had no food or flowers to bring to the market. He suffered a good deal from cold and hunger. In the winter, he was extremely lonely, as the miller never came to see him then.
For when people are in trouble, they should be left alone and not bothered by visitors. That at least is Miller's idea about friendship, and he is sure he is right. So the miller will wait till the spring comes, and then will pay Hans a visit, and that will make Hans so happy. Once Hans was in trouble and came up to Miller.
Let me have some flour on greeting, please.
Love is one thing, and friendship is another. They should not be confused. If you saw my richness, you might get envious. And envy is the most terrible thing. Would spoil anybody's future.
After the winter, Miller came to Hans.
I was half afraid you had forgotten me.
Hans, I'm surprised at you. Friendship never forgets. That's the wonderful thing about it. But I think you don't understand the poetry of life. By the by. How lovely your prime roses are looking. I like these flowers, and I'll take them.
I'm going to bring prime roses into the market and buy back my wheelbarrow with the money.
Buy back your wheelbarrow? You don't mean to say you have sold it? What a very stupid thing to do. I will give you my wheelbarrow. It's not in very good repair.
Certainly, my dear friend, my best friend. You are welcome to all the flowers in my garden.
It happened one evening. It was a very wild night, and the wind was blowing and roaring around the house terribly. Little Hans had a knock at the door.
Come in, please.
There stood the miller with a lantern in one hand and a big stick in the other.
Dear little Hans, I'm in great trouble. You know, I will give you my wheelbarrow, and so you should do something for me in return. My little boy has fallen off, and he needs the dog.
Certainly, I will start off at once, but you must lend me your lantern.
It's my new lantern. It would be a great loss to me if anything happened to you.
Little Hans arrived at the doctor's house and called him to the miller. The doctor agreed, made ready his horse, and rode off in the direction of the miller's house.
But the storm grew worse and worse, and the rain fell in torrents. Hans had to go on foot, and at last he lost his way, and wandered off on the moor, which was a very dangerous place. And there poor little Hans
was drowned. His body was found the next day.
Everybody went to Little Hans' funeral as he was so popular and the miller was the chief mourner.
A great loss to me. Why I had as good as given him my willpower. And now I really don't know what to do with it. This willpower was in such bad repair that I could not get anything for it if I sold it. One always suffers for being generous.
It is quite evident that you have no sympathy for Miller's nature.
A poem Silenzio Momore is recited by Marius Albanina, the student from the 10th A class.
Silenzio Momore. As oftentimes the tourist blended sun hurries the poet reluctant to move, back to his own decay where she had won a single belt from the nightingale. So doth thy beauty make my lips to fail, and all my sweetest singing out of tune. And as at dawn across the level meet, on wings impetuous some winds will come, and with its two hushed kisses break the reed, which was its only instrument of song. So my two stormy passions walk me wrong, and for excess of love, my love is done. But surely unto thee my nights did show why I am silent, and my look unstrong. Else it were better we should part and go. Thou to some lips of sweeter melody, and I do nurse the barren memory of unkissed kisses and songs never sung.
An essay to read or not to read is presented by Piskova Tatiana and Leontiev Nikolai, the students of 9th B class.
Books, I fancy, may be conveniently divided into three classes. First, books to read, such as Cicero's letters, Suetonius, Marcellus' lives of the painters, the autobiography of Benvenuto Cellini, Sir John Mandeville, Marco Polo, St. Simon's Memoirs, and, till we get to better one, Grote's History of Greece. Second, books to reread, such as Plato and Keats. In the sphere of poetry, the masters, not the minstrels. In the sphere of philosophy, the seers, not the divines. Third, books not to read at all, such as Roger's Italy, Thompson's Seasons, Paley's Evidences, all fathers except St. Augustine, and all Voltaire's plays without any exception. All argumentative books and all books that try to prove something. The third class is by far the most important. To tell people what to read is, as a rule, either useless or harmful. But to tell people what not to read is a very different matter, and I venture to recommend it as a mission to the university extension scheme. Indeed, it is one that is eminently needed in this age of ours, the age that reads so much that has no time to admire, and writes so much that has no time to think.
Whoever will select out of the chaos of our modern curriculum the worst 100 books and publish a list of them will confer on the rising generation a real and lasting benefit. After expressing these views, I suppose I should not offer any suggestions at all regard to the best 100 books. But I hope you will allow me the pleasure of being consistent, as I mentioned, to put in acclaim the book that has been strangely omitted by the most of the excellent judges. I mean Greek anthology. The beautiful poems contained in this collection seem to me quite necessary for the complete understanding of the Greek spirit. I am also amazed that Edgar Allan Poe has been passed over. If in order to make room for him it be necessary to elbow out someone else, I should elbow Salvaire and Baudelaire. It's only the actioneer who should admire old schools of art.
shows like a little restless midge. Big bunches full of yellow haze are moved against the shadow above, and like a yellow silken scarf, the thick hands along the cave. The yellow leaves begin to fade and flutter from the temple elms, and at my feet the pale green Thames lies like a rod of leaflet jade.
So first language drama contest diploma is given to Scott Alex and Knyaz Belova. For the best costume. To Važenova Dasha and Nikishova Veronika, the 10th To Visnaya Varvara, the 10th E4 student for the best artistic reciting. To Mitrofanova Anastasia, the 10th B student for the best acting. Nagulova Anastasia, the 7th C4 for the best artistic reciting. Tymurachenko Folya, the student of the 10th C4 for the best artistic reciting. Tolkianova Kate, the 9th B4 for the best pronunciation. To Kulmis Daria for the best pronunciation. To Knyazeva Luba and Scott Alex for the best pronunciation. To the students of the 10th grade B for the devoted friend performance. Students of Yulia Lazarovna, the 10th B. To Nikishova Veronika and Važenova Dasha for the best acting. To the students of the 9th A4 for creative approach to the performance. The 9th A. Is there anyone? To Scott Alex and Knyazeva Любовь for creative approach to the performance. Group of the 10th B4 for the original extract from the remarkable rocket tale. And to the group of the 10th B4 for the original extract from the remarkable rocket tale. To Laputina Julia and Babayan Roxana for the best costume.
Daniva Anna for the original extract and acting, 10th A. The diploma is given to Alexeyeva Anastasia and Frolova Margaret for the best costume from 10th A. So thank you for your acting. So thank you very much.